Just a brutal loss for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Was on its way. It was trending to be just a ass kicking where they were down 7-1 and they were going to lose. And okay, you swept the Marlins and then you go to Chicago and you lose. Corbin Burns actually pitched a pretty good game, gave him a quality start.
Quality start. Nothing wrong with how Corbin Burns pitched.
Yeah, Corbin Burns pitched well. So you're down 7-1, like, okay, this game's over. Ryan Nelson had come into the game and just got lit up. You know, Ryan Nelson was not able to do his job today. The wind was blowing out at Wrigley. I even said to you, I go, there's a game that had nothing to do with my teams when I was a kid that I remember vividly. It was in 1979. The Cubs played the Phillies, and there were like 45 runs scored in the game. The Phillies won 23-22. I was a Dave Kingman fan. Dave Kingman hit like 2 or 3 bombs for the Cubs. He hit 3 home runs. Mike Schmidt hit 2, and it's a very famous game in 1979. I kept showing everybody, like, this reminds me of that game. But then the Diamondbacks come back and they take the lead with an epic 10-run 8th inning. Just epic.
Epic 10-run.
14 batters reached base. Suarez hits a grand slam. Gurriel hits a home run. 2 walks. A bobbled ground ball by the Cubs. And you're like, oh, my God, you're going to win this game. You're going to win this game. You're up 11-7.
Yes.
11-7.
With 6 outs to go.
6 outs to go.
11-7 with 6 outs to go, yeah.
And then Joe Mantiply happened. Well, Joe Mantiply didn't happen first. Bryce Jarvis happened first.
Then Joe Mantiply
happened. And the Cubs win it 13-11. Brutal loss. Very difficult loss to take.
The bullpen of Ryan Nelson, Bryce Jarvis, and Joe Mantiply, cover your eyes, combined to pitch 2 innings in this game. They gave up 11 earned runs, 12 hits. They miraculously only walked a couple of guys, but they gave up 4 home runs over the course of this. And this is where you and I were watching the game together here because we were going to come on a little late, right? You were actually listening to some of the game in your car because you couldn't step away during that 10-run inning for the Diamondbacks. You're like, I'm in my car. I'm coming. I'll be there. I'm in the parking lot. I'm listening to Chris. I'm listening to the guys. I'll be up there in a minute. But we're watching the game. And when I'm watching the relievers that Torrey is using, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I wonder if nobody's available today. I wonder if all of his high-leverage guys, Justin Martinez and A.J. Puck and Shelby Miller, I'll even throw Jalen Beeks on that list, Ryan Thompson, it looks like he is doing everything he can to avoid those guys. And I use this website that I use at Fangraphs that kind of keeps track of the relievers and how many pitches they threw and when they were used.
Yeah,
and I sent you a screenshot of it. I tweeted out a screenshot of it. I know it hasn't made everybody happy because people are like, they weren't available.
They weren't available. Like, you could scream and yell all you want that, you just got to protect Lavelle. J-Mart wasn't available. A.J. Puck wasn't available. Ryan Thompson wasn't available. Beeks wasn't available. They weren't available. Now, you can question it, but those guys, Puck, J-Mart, Beeks, and Thompson, were not available. Shelby Miller was available to pitch the 9th. He would have pitched the 9th. Now, should Shelby Miller pitch 2 innings? Should he have come in the 8th instead of Mantiply because Mantiply's been so bad? Absolutely. We can question that. We can question whether Shelby Miller should have, but Shelby Miller, according to your charts, that would have been the 3rd time in 4 games that he had pitched, correct?
Yes.
3 in 4 days.
He pitched 2 out of the last 3. He didn't pitch yesterday. He combined for 30 pitches on Tuesday and Wednesday, so it would have been 3 out of 4. And I mean, presumably, that means he's no longer available for the rest of the weekend, right? Maybe on Sunday for a little bit if you need something, but certainly he's not available. Now, the counter argument to this is, and we can sit here and say, okay, they weren't available, and that's just how it was going to be. And there's a counter argument to here to say, hey, that was a game you were down 7-1.
Yeah.
Now you're up 11-7. Win the game.
Right.
Go win the game and worry about tomorrow. The question you ask yourself is that a conversation worth having about a game on 18th of April? Right? Like it's
you know it is.
That's where people get all wound up about this because you'll look at it and go, forget that it's April 18th. I don't care that it's April 18th. That's a game that you should have won. You could have won. You should have used your guys to get it. And I get that argument. I really, really do. And this is why I would have loved to have talked to Torrey about this to get his thinking in terms of who was and who wasn't available. But it sounds like they were all down except for
Shelby Miller. He told me that Shelby Miller would have pitched the 9th. Now, I'm going to go back because there is some criticism here. And you can take it for what you want. The Diamondbacks beat the Marlins on Wednesday 6-2. It was a close game going into the 7th. It's 3-1 going into the 7th. Diamondbacks score a run, 4-1 going into the 7th. Now you get to the 8th inning. It's only a 3-run lead. You're trying to win the game. You score 2 runs. You've got a 6-1 lead on Miami in the 8th. They used Puck and Martinez in the 8th and 9th. Miami got 1 run. They made it 6-2. You could question whether he should have used Puck or Martinez. Now, the answer I got was that those guys, because the game was so close going into the late innings, both of those guys had been in a bullpen warming up.
So they had already been warmed.
They had already been warmed.
And there's an old belief in baseball that once you're warmed up, you're kind of pot committed at that point. You're kind of there.
Right, because that's the thing I looked at. Did you have to use Puck? Did you have to use J-Mart when you're up 6-1 on Miami? Could you just sat those guys down? Each of those guys pitched an inning. But what I'm being told is that, yes, those guys, because they were up, because it was a 3-run game and they were getting loose and getting ready and starting to throw a little bit, he just decided to use them.
Look,
that could be the criticism right there.
That could be and I think the other criticism could potentially be get a better reliever than Joe Mantiply. Get a better option than Bryce Jarvis. Yeah. I think the counter now, Ryan Nelson, I don't know what the hell happened to Ryan Nelson. He had been pitching very, very well. And I suspect that in a perfect world, it would have been 6 from Corbin Burns and 3
from Ryan Nelson.
Or 2 from Ryan Nelson and 1 from Shelby Miller. But either way, hey, I got one of my best starters from a year ago who's going to give me 3 innings.
That's it.
That's it. We're done.
Game's over.
6 out of Burns, 3 out of Ryan Nelson. Good night, everybody. See you on Rush Street. We're out of here, right?
So you give the ball to Nelson. You're like, okay, I got this. Go get me 9 outs. Because that's what we're using you for basically 3 innings.
Yes.
When he couldn't do that, it set this thing in motion to where, okay, I can't use Puck, I can't use J-Mart, I can't use Beeks, and I can't use, was one other guy.
Thompson.
Couldn't use those guys. Couldn't use them. So now you're like, okay, I got Jarvis and I got Shelby Miller. Could you have gone to Shelby Miller and not used Jarvis? Well, Jarvis has been decent for you. So what you did is you went to Jarvis, and when he failed, you went to Mantiply. The question is, should you have not gone to Mantiply at all? And should you have just gone to Shelby Miller? Because Mantiply has been awful for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
He has been
awful.
Okay, in his last 4 innings, Joe Mantiply got these numbers. He's got a 22.5 ERA. He's got a whip of 4.25. I don't know if I've ever seen a whip that high before. I know it's just over 4 innings. 15 hits, 10 runs. The question number 1 is, should you have used Martinez and Puck a couple of nights ago when you were up 6-1? I get what you're saying about them being warm. Question number 2, should you have used Shelby in the 8th instead of saving him for the 9th to try to see what he could have done there, even though it might have left him unavailable for the rest of the weekend? Question number 3, is Joe Mantiply becoming a real liability in your bullpen? Is that
he gave up 3 runs against the Cubs on March 30th. He gave a run against Washington on the 6th. He gave up 4 runs against Milwaukee on the 11th. He gave up 2 runs against Miami on the 15th, and then he imploded again today. Joe Mantiply is the worst pitcher on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's not even close. He's a guy that you can't trust. This guy used to be an all-star, and you could absolutely make the argument that maybe you should have went to just Shelby and said, "Get me 6 outs." Because I can't trust Joe Mantiply, because you had a chance to win this baseball game.
Yeah.
And we know from last year that sometimes these things come down to 1 game, and you don't want this one to haunt you.
Mitch has his hand raised. Mitch, I'm calling on you. Yes, sir.
It's kind of tough to hear, but it sounds like there's some changes coming with the bullpen tomorrow if you listen closely from Torrey's post.
You saw Mantiply and Jarvis coming out of here. You got some moves coming.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have a busy day, a busy conversation for you guys tomorrow for sure. 100%. But I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Ginkel?
Has to be Ginkel.
Is he ready? Jameson? I haven't been following to see how he's been doing in Reno. Jameson, Ginkel,
Oh, if Dre gets called up tomorrow, that is my day.
But
Who?
Dre Jameson. If Dre Jameson gets called up.
Sounds like they asked about Mantiply and Jarvis.
Yeah, it would, based off of what Torrey just said, maybe potentially 2 relievers, which Ginkel, Graveman, maybe you reach down and get Dre Jameson depending on where he's at. I'm going to look up his stats during the break. I'm not sure what he's been doing down there. Mitch, thank you for passing that along. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.